I'd like to call the Parks Board meeting for Monday, September 25th to order. Are there any citizens' comments, sir? That you know of? Okay, good. Approval of the minutes. Anybody want to make a motion? Mr. Mr. Head, second. Mr. White, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No, it passed. Thank you, sir. Under old business, volunteer park phase 2, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to fix the recorder. I'm not Mr. IT down here.
Make sure you don't lose the 30 seconds, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay. Not a lot's changed. Actually, I was just on a phone call as we came in here, before I came up here with the engineer regarding the walk bridge that's going to be across the small creek there on phase 2 at Volunteer. Trying to get some things lined out with that. Probably our goal right now is to have this in the paper by the end of this week, to going out to the advertisement for bid, and then have the plans available for contractors to pick up the first week of October. So trying to move as quick as we can. Like I said last time, the plans have been approved by the state. That's all approved. It's a done deal. So just trying to move forward on that. As you'll see, there is a handout let me get to it here. There's a 3-page handout for you all that shows a rendering of the building. Obviously, it's brick exterior, stone veneer on the bottom, and then there's also a covered area. We'll have picnic tables under, and then there's the actual building plans, a rendering of the floor plan on page 2, and then there's on the 3rd page there is a timeline. And it kind of was a long sheet, but you get the idea on the dates to the left, on the left side of page 3. You get the idea of what we're looking at. Now, hopefully, we can go quicker than this, but this is just kind of an idea on what we're looking at, timeline or time-wise for the new 2nd phase. So, but that's kind of where we stand, and just trying to move forward and get it all taken care of.
It's a very nice rendering. Anybody have any questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mary's Magical Playground, Mr. Rogers.
Since we last met, they did have a special event, another fundraiser, the Pigs in the Park, which is actually just below this. So no number has been given to me yet. I did receive an email today from the lady that heads that group up, Miss Carol Ernst. They don't have a number on what was raised, but she did give me a number. She said right now they're currently up to about $613,000 minus, or in addition to the city money. So that's $143,000, including the bond money that was passed, or the money that will be in the bond. So, but I think they've still got a few events. The Pigs in the Park money that comes in, and they're still, I've got a list on my phone. I can go back to that in my report, but there's still some events coming before October 31st, which is when they'll finish up the fundraising and then go from there. So,
questions? One thing I did want to ask, I had a couple of people talk to me this week about when we did the playground over there, the big playground, and we had the blocks that had names in them, the bricks that had names in them. You recall that?
Well, are you mean the tiles that were on the block wall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where are those? Do you have any idea?
Everything that was not broken or vandalized is at our maintenance shop.
Okay.
And so if you run into that person, just tell them to contact me, and I'll show them where they are, and they can go through them and whatever's there. We have a few, 2 or 3 crates of the ones that weren't broken,
okay,
or gone already when we took them off.
So we made an attempt to, I see what you're saying. You had to,
our staff took them down.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Roger. Ooh, Pigs in the Park, Mr. Rogers.
Again, I don't know what they raised on the money-wise. I know the event probably had a smaller than expected turnout, but first-year event, you never know. So that's with what I noticed myself when I was at the park for a short time, and then what I was told, didn't have as big a turnout. But I don't know I'm sure they'll look at what they can do different. I think the plan was to do this event every year and give the money to a different charity or a different nonprofit each year. So, so I'll talk to those folks in the near future, I'm sure. But overall, I think there was as far as the organization of the event and the way the event went off, as far as the traffic, there were no hiccups on our end. I think that they got everything they wanted as far as where they set up stuff and the logistics of it. I think it all worked out pretty good. So,
Thank you, sir. Questions? Veterans Park Monument, Mr. Rogers.
I think I mentioned this a while back. We are putting in a guy with the Vietnam Veterans Chapter 240 out of Gallatin had contacted me, gosh, probably a year ago, probably over a year ago, wanted to put in something at Veterans Park. I said, why is it named Veterans Park? I said, I don't know. I wasn't here when that happened, but I understand that is a good point. We'll talk about it. So one thing led to another, and we started the process to put a small monument at Veterans Park. And I don't have the actual bronze placard with me, but essentially what it will be, and we do have the footer actually dug. We're going to put a small brick monument in front of the flagpole there beside the baseball fields at Veterans Park, and there will be a bronzed placard that has some verbiage on it for all the Sumner County veterans. And then in addition to that, there will be the bronze insignias of each branch of service in addition to the POW insignia. So it's just a brick monument, and it will have some landscaping around it. So we're in the process of getting that built, and then that will be, and we'll do a ribbon cutting, or so to speak, once that's finished, to recognize our veterans in the county. So, but I thought it was a nice touch. They came to me asking about it. So.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Under new business, revised shelter administrative fee, Mr. Rogers, you're a star today.
Oh, yeah. This fee, you'll see in front of you, there's a memo. This fee was instituted in 2010. It's a very small fee, as you can see. After speaking with Kristen, our lady that works at the window, it's almost it's a very, the way it's set up is almost, like I said, as the memo states, it's an inconvenience because, they come in, they reserve a shelter, and then they find out a month later that they have to change the date. So, and they can call in and say, hey, well, can I change this date? And they've already paid for it because you have to come in to pay, so they have to change. So to make the fee, then they have to come back to the office to pay a $5 or $10 fee because we don't have shelter reservations online yet, which we're getting to that. And the other thing is, we only reserve shelters. The high time for shelters is really March through October. So you're only looking at 7 months, and we may have one of these a month. So we might have 7 to 15 a year at $5. And so it's not like, so it's almost an inconvenience, and then we have to, so it's just it's almost a feel like, I don't understand. It is just more of an inconvenience because things happen. Things happen, and they have to cancel shelters or change the shelter, or sometimes people call off their wedding. It happens. Happened this week, I think. So.
Well, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not bad. Okay.
So anyway, with that being said, I just want to, and if you'll notice on page 2, down just above the signature line, it says reservation change, and this is what was added on the form. All I'm wanting to do is I just want, I'm proposing that the reservation administrative fee be deleted, so we can move forward, and if they want to change, we'll just change it out for them.
We need a motion on that, you think? I would think so, yeah. Personally, I don't have a problem with that because I screw it up every year myself when I get a shelter. So y'all are very kind to me, so that's nice. I need a motion. Mr. Head, second.
Second.
Mr. Bowler, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it's good. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Raise the Praise Christian Music Festival. Mr. Petty.
There you go. Good day.
This is just a follow-up from our meeting from last
State
month.
your name if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, my name is Bill Petty
sir,
with
thank
Raise the Praise. And this was a follow-up event to help answer some questions that you guys had from our previous meeting last month. Certain of the issues that we had discussed was access and also charging or trying to pursue some type of a gate fee. We had a discussion with our board and decided that we will not be charging an access or a gate fee for anyone that coming into the park or trying to block roads off so people can't have entrance or egress. So it'll be strictly by donation. So anything we do, the entire event will be at no cost, except for vendors and things of that nature, obviously. But getting in and out of the event would not have an issue. So the entire funding of this is going to be through donation of funds, whether it's through professional organizations that contribute to the organizations or through individuals. So.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, I don't have notes from the last meeting, but what were some of do you recall some of the pitfalls from the last meeting?
Sure. A few things we talked about, and following the last meeting, Bill and Christy met and spoke about a few things, and we were pretty satisfied with some of the changes they'd made. One was the gate. The gate fee was going to be a no-brainer that it can't happen,
Nightmare.
so to speak.
It would have been a nightmare.
So we can't do that. There's just no way to control those folks, kind of like the Freedom Festival, similar. They're just kind of coming in from all areas, and you can't control them. So the gate was not going to be an option. The other thing was parking. We talked about using the old Kroger parking lot, possibly, and the grass area as you come into that end of the park on the right. I can say that both of those, they utilized those for this previous event we just had, the Pigs in the Park, the barbecue festival, barbecue competition, and I don't think they had a lot of problems with getting access to use those. So we could give you the information that you need to contact. We could get you hooked up with that. That was the two main things. Obviously, this time of year, we're going to have events going on in the park. We can't just, like we talked about, close baseball and softball. So we know the event would go on that end of the park, and it looks like obviously the event is from one-day event from 12 to 10:30. I think one question that I think was asked last time, maybe I asked it, was, does the event start at 12, or is that I know there's going to be a lot of setup time, not just at 12.
That will be predominantly setup time for the vendors to come in and get themselves set up and ready. They will not arrive on Friday. The only thing we'll be doing on Friday is sound and staging and things of that nature. The event itself, the music would kick off about 4. So from 12 to 4 would basically really just be set up.
Okay. All right. So that was, to me, I know a lot of our rec soccer's over with by then, but baseball, with the exception of a few fields, is over with before 4 o'clock. So it's over with, and I think Mr. Head can attest to some of that. Now, there may be some stuff on baseball field 2 and 3, older kid baseball that may still be being played, at that time, but those folks can park on the other side of the complex and access the field. But that's the reason I'm not as worried about traffic, is because a lot of the traffic will be gone from the park, like summer baseball. If we have summer baseball or even a softball tournament, they're on the other end of the park, and they may still be playing at this time, but not as heavy, I guess is my point. So that's just on past experience.
Where exactly is it going to be set up, just from my information?
Our staging would be next to the first football field, facing out towards the grassy area and the main road that comes in through there. And we would be using that one building that has a small meeting room in it for our green room for the artists and things of that nature. So we'll strictly be held to that area right in front of the football fields.
I keep looking at Brandon because I think he can probably answer the question, but is noise going to be a problem?
Noise shouldn't be a problem. There's music for the Freedom Festival pretty much at the same times as this event, which is a month later. Freedom Festival, they play music even after the fireworks, and it shows 10:30. They play music Fireworks starts at 9, it ends at 9:20, and they play music for another 45 minutes, or 30 to 45 minutes. So as far as the music, there's no, I guess, city ordinance per se that would keep us from playing music or them from playing music until then.
That's what I was.
Because technically the park closes at 11.
That's what I was
So,
asking, yeah. Okay.
so
Any questions of Mr.
So are the vendors setting up in that parking lot? We basically, the parking lot there between Field 1 and Field 3 is going to be inaccessible that day?
Well, for the most part, and you might be able to comment on that on the meeting Christie had. I'm not sure how many vendors you're going to have, or if you're going to be able to partition off some of that lot and let people park in some of that lot. I don't know what you all talked about.
She had recommended closing that lot.
Okay.
And not having people walk in and out, because there will be people that'll be traversing the parking lot, and probably even just walking across back and forth to go to the restrooms over at the quad.
Yeah.
But she recommended for safety just to go ahead and
And
close
that's
that lot.
completely okay. The only change I might see as we get closer to the event, and this would be something you'd have to work with Christie on, is
Sure.
if there's only so many vendors, you could fence off when they enter to make one lane and have the front portion of that lot a vendor area, and we could have temporary fencing put up, and then use maybe the back half of the lot for the people that want to, and that would give you more parking. But
Yeah.
I know that's hard to tell because you don't know, or you may know how many vendors you got. I mean, you may know.
At this point, we don't know how many
Okay.
will show up, but we also would use that for artist parking for
Yeah.
their buses and things of
Yeah,
that
and so
nature.
that may solve that one. That may answer that one, so that's understandable. So, but you're gonna have to, with that being said, I think, and one thing that Ken had asked earlier, maybe the last time, is getting the access to that Kroger lot and
Yes.
that grass area.
Yes,
and
sir.
Using shuttles, if you can get with the other churches.
Yes, sir.
Possibly using shuttles. I know there's no lack of churches in Hendersonville.
No.
So, I can't imagine them not being willing to maybe help out with shuttles or.
And we've also approached Life Church to
Okay.
use their facility and potentially shuttle back and forth.
Okay,
for,
just
so we
across the street,
Yeah,
okay.
so we'd have some extra parking there, and legitimately, the expected number of people at this event would probably be around between 1,000 and 2,000 people at the most. So we're not looking at 10,000 people showing up for this, especially if it's for our first year in Hendersonville. So you're looking at probably 2,000 people that would be sitting out on the lawn.
Okay,
So
all right,
that's our hope.
sure.
We'll get Mr. Frank up to speed on this. They have dispensed with the gate fees, and and I'll let Brent, I mean, you can supplement this if you like, but they've kind of worked out the parking situation to everybody's, and then I think you heard the rest of it, so.
And we'll coordinate with the local police department to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure that we have additional staffing and for entrance and exit and people working the roads and things of that nature if that's necessary, as they deem necessary, whatever they require.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as we get closer,
Sure.
but I would, that would almost be, from our standpoint, and we'd have to talk about the logistics of it.
Absolutely.
But mandatory, because if we're expecting that many cars, especially at the Demos entrance and exit, and then possibly even on the other end at
Right.
Cherokee. So we can,
Yeah.
we can talk about that, but I would highly suggest it.
Very familiar with the Demos exit, yes,
As most people are.
yes.
Any other questions? Ms. White?
We started out, it says 5,000 here. You stated you think maybe closer to 2,000. You really don't know.
This is our first year in Hendersonville, and it is the population in Hendersonville is approximately 10 times that of our previous location. We've had as many as 1,000 people in Portland. So our expectation is that it will be some factor of 1,000, but we're not exactly sure what that range will be. Depending on the artist, depending on who it is, you could have 5,000 people here. If it was Toby Mac, there'll be 5,000 people here. But if not, we'd be very happy to see 2,000 people here at the first event in Hendersonville. So.
Did you discuss with Christie or given any thought to portable restroom facilities or what's
Yes.
going to be done
Yeah,
there?
they would open up the restrooms in that one in the main building, and then in the quad to the rear, I guess, where the baseball fields are. They would make those available, but we would also supplement with portables.
And we could give you a number based on what the Freedom Festival does. We could give you a number on what they get.
Right.
Or what we get, I guess, because, so, because we partner with the event. So, Christie could get you that information in due time.
Yeah.
What kind of publicity are you going to do for this?
We'll do radio, we'll do signage, we'll do social media, so it'll be publicized quite readily.
If this does get okayed, I'm sure you would smile on Hendersonville Parks Department. Any other question?
Most graciously, indeed.
Any other question? I'll entertain a motion to okay.
Move.
Mr. Bowler, second. Mr. Head, any more discussion on this matter? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. I would suggest, and I think you've already done this, but I would suggest you work very closely with Brandon and his staff.
Indeed.
Being your first time here and doing this, they are invaluable as far as the little things that maybe that crop up that you don't think about.
Unquestionably, yeah.
Brandon's reasonably hard to work with, but I think you'll be okay with it.
I'm used to working with hard people.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bill. Okay.
Under Play for Tay softball tournament, Mrs. Clark. This does not look like a
Mrs. Clark has changed.
Had a family emergency.
Okay. Well, as long as you don't pretend to be her, we'll be fine.
No, I will not.
State your name, sir, if you don't mind.
My name is Mark Messick. I am the vice president of the Live for Tay Foundation. We have been in talks with Brandon. We're looking to hosting our 8th annual Play for Tay softball tournament. This tournament has grown tremendously over the past 7 years. Last year we were standing at 120 teams from 6 states. Our tournament normally played in September on Labor Day. And of course, with the weather that come in from Harvey this past year, we had to reschedule the tournament, and so it got canceled. And we had talked with Ken, Andy, and the parks here, Brandon, and y'all had an open date that coincide with other teams' availability to play. So we're looking to host a tournament this year here, October 7th and 8th. Right now we're standing at 78 teams presently, still ongoing registration. We are actually looking to move up here permanently for Labor Day weekend. We always love the park. Most of the people we're affiliated with has been up here several times over the past 8 years playing ball with their kids or coaching or whatever. So there's more to offer up here in Hendersonville, I do believe, for us. So I believe that's it. The nature of, I got one thing I do need to say. Our foundation is a benefit childhood cancer foundation. What we do, we host events as a softball tournament, and it is the backbone of our foundation. We have a grant process that kids or families actually apply through Vanderbilt for financial assistance. And each grant is $1,500 if you are going or being seen at Vanderbilt undergoing treatment. We've actually have given out grants as far as Boston, Texas. These grants that are out of state, that are not affiliated with Vanderbilt, are $500. Our inception for 501(c) was 3.5 years ago. And since then, we have donated over $200,000 from benefits of this tournament and a golf tournament and other donations to over 110 families. So most of our people that our grant recipients that we give money to are here local. You know, they're in the Middle Tennessee area. So this is Taylor Fillaremo. She played ball for me. Excuse me. She had gotten sick cancer. So she asked us to continue doing the tournament, give kids a little chance to play. So we also make donations to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Vanderbilt's Children's Hospital, each and every year.
Questions? Mr. White?
One question is, I know this is the last weekend of fall ball, and it looks like every field at both parks is checked on here. What's going on with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ms.
it
Rogers?
is. That's a little misleading. And let me back up. Mark and Karen came up and we met with these folks and went through this. And actually, Mr. Gilly had kind of put those folks on us. And so that's kind of a little background on that. As far as the fields that day, when we met, we told them Saturday it would be Drakes Creek only because we've got fall baseball that's finishing up. I think we've got about 18 games. We probably won't have 18 games to play because we're going to have to cancel some games because it's fall break and we got people dropping like flies, but that's okay. So we're going to move those to veterans on Saturday and play those in the morning, early afternoon, and then they would be able to utilize both parks on Sunday. So now there is a chance if we were done at a certain time on Saturday, if they needed to go use veterans from 2 o'clock till 10 o'clock that night on Saturday, they could use that as well. We'd have maintenance guys here to go over and change the bases and re-drag and line and get everything ready. But so that's kind of where we stand on, and a lot of that depends on the number of teams that they actually end up with, which is obviously we're getting close, and they may have a better idea now. But I think the idea, and you can correct me here, Mark, was they do want to stay in one city. They didn't want to have to come here and have some here and at Gallatin, or for example.
I do believe we're probably going to have to go to Gallatin
So.
just because our format on our tournament is a 2-pool double elimination. So you're going to get deep when you start getting into the elimination bracket. So in order to finish at a timely manner, we have to have more fields.
Yeah, and
So-
when we met
and
first,
we
that
have no
makes sense.
problem. The tourism in Sumner County has been more than gracious to us. They have rolled out the red carpet to us, and our foundation is thoroughly grateful for Sumner County and Hendersonville Parks and Rec.
Well,
Thoroughly
that's good information. When we met, I told Mark and Karen to get in touch with Barry Young at the
Yes.
CVB, and I haven't spoke to you since, but that sounds good. I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that.
it's going to grow bigger and better every year, I think, here, because, I mean, we've been in Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne for the past 7 years. And I do have one question. I don't know when to ask it, but Murfreesboro, which is where I'm actually from, it's all business, just like normal, but there's nothing ever offered, nothing welcome. Let us do this for you. Let's do that. There's nothing here. Here, y'all have been very open armed, welcome. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to have your tournament here. And I say thank you, I do have one question, and the question is on your price. I would ask that the fees on the field be waived or reduced to where we can continue helping families.
Help me there.
Oh, well, this is up to you all. When we met, I told him I can't set fees. I can't set fee structure. So, I told Mark when we met, you can make the request, but we don't, to my knowledge, we haven't waived fees for any other tournament, okay? Obviously, the purpose is to make as much money as they can, which in any tournament, whether it's a Civitan tournament or whoever it is. They're a nonprofit. They don't have paid employees. However, I told him he could request that. If you all make the motion to approve the event and keep the fees as they are, then that'd be the motion. But that's strictly up to you all. and it's up for discussion or whatever you want to do. I'll be glad to answer any other questions from my end, non-fee related. But I did tell Mark and Karen that we would provide that weekend, that we would have EMT, paramedic on site on their side-by-side running around the park both days. I did tell them we would do that, which we do that for big weekends anyway, as long as the fire department can provide help. But, the fees came up. I told Mark that he could ask. It was, nothing keeping him from that, and it would be you all's decision on how you want to handle that.
Not necessarily about the fees, but are you going to, there's football that day as well?
Yes, we know there's football.
Okay, just
Yes.
want to make sure.
We had a long discussion about that. Yes.
Okay, I just didn't
Football
want to
will
make
be using, football is not as big as they
It'll
usually
be-
are.
yeah.
But they do know that as far as the gate, when we know the only area that's in the road that gates are allowed to be taken is on that football end. And we even talked about possibly not even taking it there. We talked about still taking it in the complex as far as taking a gate. That way you're not stopping cars for football, because then you got cars you're stopping. Well, who are you with? Well, I'm with softball. No, I'm with
Right.
football. That gets a little confusing.
You'll be using field 1 that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So,
But I think one thing we talked about, and Mark, you might be able to help me here. Anybody that you catch at field 1 or that's on field 1
Has to come to
eventually
the
would
quad at some
would come
point.
into the quad. So they may not pay when they first get there, but they would have to pay as they come in to the
Right.
complex.
Okay.
So, and that's something that scheduling would have a hand in, but obviously I know you want to get your gate for the fundraising, but
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We're actually structuring our volunteers right now to work every entrance around these quads where we can keep traffic flow positive. We're not trying to back anything up. We know you got a number of different sports here, so we want to keep everybody in and out where they can, would cause no problems whatsoever.
there's no rec soccer that day either. There might be some Tennessee United games. If there is, there'll be very few, if any, and they may play at Volunteer Park. But there's no rec soccer that day either.
Mr. Richards, you have a question?
Didn't this board waive the fee for the parks? We pass it on down to the parks director if he wanted to waive the fee. Can we restructure that?
I don't know.
I don't think you
We
can.
done that
I don't
some.
set, and I don't know, Bobby, I'm not 100% sure, but, when it comes to fee structure, for fees, there may be some latitude, but when it comes to, I know this, I can tell you this, I've not waived fees for any tournament, and Andy's been involved in many of them. I've not waived fees for any tournament, for like this. I've never done that. And so I don't think it will be my place to, because I think you open up, in my opinion,
Yes, sir.
you open up a can of
I got
worms.
Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'll make a motion, we waive the fees on approval by the mayor, board, and alderman. Excuse me. We'll waive them here. I think they need to be approved by the
I
board.
think you need to couple that with a motion to okay the project, really.
Well-
I mean, that's my thought.
Well, we don't take, these type of things to the Board of Mayor and Alderman. This is something obviously we have you all as a sounding board for this. And so, in my opinion, the motion needs to be either we approve the event with fees as they are, or we approve the event with no fees, or we don't approve the event at all. That's the three options. That's just me. We have an alderman here. He's welcome to speak, but that's a tricky one. It's a good question, but I do not have the latitude to approve or take away fees. I do not have that. That's why we have you all. That's why I wanted to do this. So, and no, and I think Mr. Messick knows that. We talked about it, and I told him it was a 50-50 deal if the motion was made to take the fees away, because we host many tournaments here, and they pay the fees. So, that's kind of where I stand on it.
You want to leave that motion as such, or you want to,
I can't say that.
Ms. White?
Well, I just have a question, is, are you partnered with a civic group or a group right now that this event will be going through?
Yeah, but I'm not going to get that.
He
Yeah.
is, they are, we instructed Karen and Mark to work with the girls' fast pitch group, but I think they've also been working, and some of our tournaments, and correct me here if I'm wrong, Mark, but some of our tournaments, they work, for example, if, we'll say Coach Gilly now with the high school, with the Booster Club, they bring them in and partner with Civitan, and that's the group. That may be this situation, and we kind of leave that up to the people running the tournament. We just say you have to partner with a group, and they may be partnering with the Dugout Club and the Fast Pitch group together. I'm not sure, and that may be something you can't answer, but I know we told them they have to partner with a group to give money back to the group, because that's the reason. That helps our groups in the park. It gets money back to them, and in turn, they put money back in the park indirectly.
Okay.
Well, that's where I'm going with that, is if you're partnered with a group already, who that is.
I'm not sure. Karen has been working on that, and like I said, she had a family emergency. She actually,
I think Andy
That's-
needs to
that's
come up
with-
and talk for a minute.
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, and that's
First off,
okay.
but before
Yeah.
we go any further, let's deal with this motion first here. I've got a motion. You want to state that again, sir?
I would like to go ahead and make a motion. We waive the fees for this because cancer is a bad, bad thing. I think all the dollars they can get is wonderful. For anybody problem with it, I have no problem, but I think it needs to be passed.
Okay. Got a motion. Do I have a second? All right, that motion fails for lack of a second. Now then,
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Need to state my name and address. Andy Gilly. The reason I'm here is because when we found out that the tournament they had in Murfreesboro was rained out, Mr. Ken Crook, who runs tournaments here in the park that you all have approved, contacted us and said, hey, can you help me get a date with the parks? Is this possible? So on and so forth, which is what groups outside the park do. So we have such a unique, I'll just tell you, our setup is unique now compared to other parks where we have, not only are people paying a field fee, but they're partnering with the civic group. In our case, it would be the Dugout Club. So we've had that, and we've had people partner with Civitan, with Fast Pitch League. And we've all kind of worked together, and it's definitely unique that a fast pitch tournament would be partnered with a baseball organization, but to me that's fine because it's money going back in our park. You know what I mean? From our point of view, is talking about fees, I will tell you it is being used against us in other cities that we have a field fee and partnering with a group. I don't know if it's something you all want to deal with later on. It's something to consider. It is definitely being used against us because somebody can come here for $125 per field per day and have to give an organization, a civic group, $55 per team, or they can go to Murfreesboro and pay $125 per field per day, and that's it. You can see where I'm getting with that. From our point of view with this event, we've already used our two school-sponsored events where we just paid such a low rate. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I'm talking about, where we have two school-sponsored events, so I couldn't use that again. But so what I did for them was just offered them $35 per team instead of the $55 that we normally charge, I guess is the way to put it. I don't know if y'all want to consider that when you're talking about, like Brandon said, we have not waived fees even for tournaments that anybody's hosted. One of the softball tournaments we had, the profit went to FCA, and from our side, we cut that fee in half from the civic group side. The city fee stayed the same. I'll just tell you that. Anyway, I just want to let you know why I was here and trying to be involved with this. I will tell you, it's a fabulous cause. I've not been to their softball tournament, but I've been to events that they have. They have a lot of like songwriter nights downtown and different things like that that go straight to this foundation. It's a great cause, and we're lucky to have it. And I did want to let you all know, and it's just come to my attention in the last couple of months that our fee structure is being used against us by groups. And I don't know if the answer to that, I'll just tell you, the civic groups put the money back into the park.
Yeah.
The field fees go into the city's general fund.
Mr.
You can
Head,
take that for whatever it's worth.
Mr. Head?
Okay?
I think I would like to make a motion that because we'd love to have this tournament here, not only now, but permanently, that we make a motion to reduce the fees this year for this tournament in half. Ben's, the civic groups are already doing half as well, so approve the tournament with only paying half the fees
For this year?
for this year.
And we'll readdress it another year.
And then address it the following year if they decide to move here permanently and to go from there.
Do it. Okay, Mr. Bowler, Mr. Head first, Mr. Bowler second. Discussions on this, I have heard that myself, but I think, and if there's a possible way that we can say, this is one time we're going to do it, I don't know if we can do that, but there needs to be a great deal more discussion on this other than just a blanket thing tonight.
Yes, sir. That was two different topics, clearly.
Yes,
but
sir.
I did want to make sure that was brought to y'all's attention tonight, too.
And don't get me wrong, for you, don't get me wrong, that's why people like to come here, because we try to be as accommodating as we can.
And you have been.
And if we can do things to enhance that, it just makes everybody better. So, but I have a motion, I have a second. Any more discussion on the matter? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And we appreciate it, and I hope it goes well. And thank you for doing it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all very much.
Yeah,
Well,
Christie will be in touch with you and
Okay.
Karen, and I'm sure you'll be talking with Coach Gilly, and if you have anything for me, let me know. But yeah, I know the event's right around the corner, so thanks for coming up, and we'll be in touch.
Thank y'all. Thank you very much.
By the way, you don't have to thank Mr. Pike because he wasn't here. So I'm just pointing out that
Hey,
Mr. Pike
I'm
is
on top
late.
right now. I'm going to ease on
That's
out
fine.
before I get in trouble.
And no, in case you're wondering, that's not Chick's brother.
Oh,
In case you're wondering.
that is Chick's brother. I don't care
In
if he
case
is
you're
or not.
wondering.
Okay, I just want to make sure it goes on record that Pike was late. All right, I don't want to know why. I just-
Oh, I'm gonna tell you why.
He's going to tell us why. That's great. Okay, go ahead.
Excuse my tardiness tonight. I was at a college scholarship thing at the high school for my daughter.
Oh, great.
Mr. Pike, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed for being late, Mr. Pike.
I understand.
You have,
understand that,
and
Mr.
you have
Franks.
lied before, so I'm not sure that this is right anyway.
That's nice, thanks.
But thank you for being here this little bit of time. I appreciate it. We couldn't have done anything we did without you, you know, we could. Okay, and football for the Cure, Ms. Ruffey? Uh-oh.
I think so.
Hello.
Hello.
How are
State your
y'all?
name, young fella.
I'm Jameson Wharton.
Nice to meet you, young man.
Okay. I'd like to rent out the Parks Field.
First off, take a breath. This is no big deal.
know.
We're dumb in a bag
I
of hammer here,
understand.
so don't worry about anything, okay?
Okay.
You
Well,
just
hey, he
relax.
can speak for himself, then.
I'm speaking for everybody but me, all right? Just relax, you're all right.
Okay. So, I've done this flag football game to raise money for cancer it'll be the 4th year this year. And I did it last year because last year was my first year in Tennessee. So I want the football field to do the game, and all the money goes to the American Cancer Society. And I did it in Georgia before I moved to Tennessee. And it's October 28th from 2 to 4.
You did very well, thank you. Mr. Rogers, you want to give us a little background on this?
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming. And like you said, they've been doing this event in the past. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had wanted to do it in front of Ellis in the past.
Correct.
And that was not allowed, maybe.
Correct.
So they'd come to us. So this day, October 28th, and I'm 99% sure on this, but Jimmy, there's no football games that day. I think that's the day of the championship games, which are at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it will be well done by
So
then.
they're finished by then. obviously, we don't have and honestly, we don't have a fee structure, not that we need one, to rent the football field, because we typically don't rent the football field. But this is something, it's not going to be a big event. I don't think they're expecting 1,000 people like a couple people before this
I
guy.
don't know, we could be.
They could. Hey, if you get 1,000 people.
It was huge
that's-
last year. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful last year. The largest one.
Well, that's great, and that's kind of the high points of the event. I think everything else is on the form here, on kind of where they, American Cancer Society, obviously, I don't think that you all, don't have a nonprofit per se. I don't think you have a nonprofit, or you may go through a nonprofit. I'm not sure who you go through.
The money that we get from it is $5. I don't know if you said that or not, but it's $5 per kid.
It says it here.
Okay, and they pay it, and we got in touch with the American Cancer Society here, and we just donate the money straight to them.
Oh, okay.
Who handles the money?
I'm sorry?
Who handles the money?
Me. I'm Mom, Danielle.
You look like you're pretty honest. All right. Don't yell at me. I'm not.
Me.
Yeah, I'm just loud.
It's all right.
I'm also the cheerleader and everything
That's
else.
all right. Questions? I do. You, Mr. Pike, I knew you would.
He shows right up and starts asking questions.
Just a
Pike's
couple
here.
things.
Pike's
You're
here.
taking money, how are you gonna take the money? Are you gonna take it up out? Are we gonna do a gate outside when people coming in the cars, or are we gonna do it on the football field, or where are we doing it?
Last year, we set up on the football field, and I had tents available. It's kind of hot, actually, last year. So we just set up tents, and my mother comes, my mother-in-law comes, my husband's there. Some of the principal was there from Ellis Middle School last year. He came to support. Not only the principal came, your football coaches came to support, and they're also the coaches. His teacher came, and they also helped coach. It was huge. He's done it before in the past in Georgia, in Woodstock, Georgia, and it was huge there. He just moved here. I'm just boasting a little bit because he's my son, but he just got here. We just moved here, not even a year. Last year, he put it on, and it was, he raised over $1,000 that he gave to the American Cancer Society. It's great.
How does the insurance play into this, Brandon? What part does it play?
Well, it's really no different than somebody getting together and playing pickup basketball.
Okay.
Honestly, they're playing. We're allowed to use a football field. It's a public park. We're going to allow them to use the field, but there's no fee on our end. So there's no insurance from our end. If something was to happen, we have to be city would have to be negligent if something happened. But as far as it would have to be self-insured essentially.
Also, last year we had waivers. We did have waivers, so everybody signed a waiver, stating that in the event.
Okay.
Thankfully, nobody got hurt, but in the event that you do get hurt,
Okay.
hope you have insurance.
Mr. Bowler?
So we did do that.
So who's playing?
So who'll be playing? Speak to him.
Oh, it's kids from 7 and up.
But who are they?
What do you mean?
They're everybody from his school, from the neighborhood. Last year I had other people, word of mouth really, because I told the principal and they announced it every day on the announcements at school. So all of his friends from school came. Not only that, they told their friends. Not only that, they told their friends. And it just ended up being a huge
This is just kind of like a pickup football game.
Kind of like a pickup.
That's not bad at all.
Yep.
I like that.
We have all the equipment. We had the equipment donated to us last year, actually from one of the parents from Ellis. She donated flags and she donated some footballs. We already had some, but she donated more. So this year we don't even have to do anything but go play football.
Can we play? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I have a feeling a couple of my boys will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, Jameson
I'm
actually.
friends with Eric.
Yeah.
I think my son will probably be there. He's already talking
Might
about
even
it.
send my granddaughter.
So-
Girls play
Ted, do you have a
too.
question, sir? Do you have a question?
So, do you use any officials or anything? You just get out there and play pickup? What do you do?
No, we actually have teams. Last year,
Last year we
you can
spread
describe
out.
the sport.
Okay, last year we spread out into different teams, and we had different coaches because some of my coaches from school came, and some of my teachers came. So we just spread out into different teams, and then some people were coaches and some people were officials.
It's very well structured. We also got donated to us big jugs, cases, of water from O'Charlie's around the corner because one of the dads from his football team, he plays football at Ellis, donated water to us. That's works at O'Charlie, so we had tons of water, and we had
Very
but we
nice.
had water and kids and football and And I mean, coaches, it's very well structured. You'd be surprised, actually. You should come. It's very well structured. Like you said, there's teams and there's coaches, and then they get a break, they get a water break, then they come back on and play again. Last year, I was like, it's 4 o'clock, time to go. And I was also pregnant last year, 8 months? I had my baby on the 29th. So I was like 9 months pregnant out there with them playing football. So I'm like, okay, guys, time to go. None of the kids wanted to leave because it was so much fun. But we also had fathers that were saying, well, next year, can we play? No, he invented that on his own just for kids.
I think that pregnant thing might be a little more information than I need. I would accept a motion, Mr. White?
I'm just curious as to where you did this last year. Where did you play last year?
We did it here last year. We didn't come.
They did it at the park
Yeah.
last year. They came to us last minute, and I approved it last minute last year. Listen, there was no football, and I told them last year they had to come back to the Parks Board this year to get approved.
And
We're
how
kinda
did-
in a bind,
how
so we
did it go
appreciate that.
last
They
year?
went good.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Mr. Frank?
First of all, thank you for serving your fellow students and looking out, thinking outside yourself. You're to be commended for that. And glad to have you in our community. I know that Mr. Cripps and the guys over there looking for some leadership, so thank you for that. And with that, I make a motion we approve this and also put it on our calendars to attend.
Very nice. I got a motion. Mr. Pike?
I'll second it. I just wanted to say something real quick. I commend you for coming up here too. That can be a daunting task for a young man your age, and you did a really good job.
Did a real good job. I appreciate it. Mr. Frank first and Mr. Pike second. Any more discussion on it? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. I'm real proud of you. I've been on this thing for a long time. As far as I can remember, it's the first time someone like yourself came up here. Somebody did something right somewhere along the way.
I'll tell Eric Jamo showed up tonight. Spoke on the mic.
Tell him Jamo came. If I may add just real quick, I'm sorry, I know that it's over, but he's also the president of the middle school at Ellis. I'm just proud.
Congratulations.
And before you leave, you're going to have to put your
You're
Tennessee shirt.
overachieving. My goodness.
I'm just proud. We just moved here, so I'm just happy for him.
Well, that's what I said. Before you leave, you got to put a Tennessee shirt on. So if you say anything starting with an A, we're going to get rid of this. I can tell you that. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you all.
All right.
I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to look over the reports. Does anyone have, you want to do this all together or just all at one time? or-
Well, the reports are in there. You can ask any questions
That's what
about
I
those.
was-
If not, I'll just go straight to my
Okay,
my
stand-
report I've got made
Stand
here.
by a minute. Okay, Mr. Head.
Just, can you elaborate any more on Halloween in the park, Brandon, where we are with that and how that's going?
On the Halloween, the
Yeah.
trick or treat at Drake's Creek?
Yeah.
Well, it's going pretty good. And for anyone who has questions out there in TV land, you can call the Parks Department. Halloween event. It's going to be at the park. Businesses can take part. And we'll give you all the information you need. So, but it's going good. We're going to have obviously business involved, giving out candy on the trail, back towards soccer at night on Monday, October 30th. We're going to have hay rides. Actually, Kip Smith with Tri-Green Equipment is going to give us a couple of brand new John Deere tractors to use to pull the hay rides. And it's going to be a great event. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and we've had meetings on site about it. The maintenance guys have already been doing things for it. They're excited about it. So we're wanting it to be a premier event in the city for kids, and we think it will be, hopefully. So everything's going good. We just need Wendy's to. No, I'm joking.
What do you want?
I'm
That's all
joking.
you got to do is call.
I've told.
you gotta just call.
Actually, I've told Christy as of Friday she needs to contact you. So
Well-
her and Cindy are running it, and they're doing a good job getting out to schools and getting out. So we're working through it.
Well, they need to call me. I already
Well,
told
they-
them I'd do
they
anything.
will.
They just
They
need to
will.
call and let me know what they need.
Okay.
And anybody that ain't signed up for it as business needs to come sign up and be a
Yeah.
part of it down there.
It'll be a great thing, and looking for a big event.
Very nice, thank you. Mr. White, did you have a question, sir? Mr. Frank, did you have a question, sir? Yes, sir. You have your mic on, that's right, I asked that. All right, we're going to go directly to this Parks Director, Mr. Rogers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few quick things. As you all know, we bought some property. After the flood. There was some property on Linden Avenue that was condemned, and the FEMA and the city together purchased some property. It's about maybe 7 to 8 acres down on Livingston Avenue, which is beside Pope John Paul High School. It's a beautiful piece of property. All the houses are gone, and we mow it. Our guys take care of it. We mow and trim it. That's all we do. There's nothing down there but grass and trees. I'm going to look to, I've talked with the mayor, I'm going to look to try and start little by little developing this piece of property. What I mean by that is maybe put a small parking area on the high ground with a porta-john that's enclosed where you can't see it. So obviously the neighbors, because we can't afford to build a restroom down there. And then possibly put, even in the future, maybe put a shelter down there to rent out. Maybe even put a dog park down there, something. But I mentioned to the mayor about, I know this is a biggie here. We probably have to name the park. I know. So, I gave him a suggestion. I'm not, I know. So just FYI, we're nowhere close to that. I don't think we're not there. I know it's hilarious. It's a little comical, but I do want to use the piece of property. I think it's a great spot. It's a dead end road, dead ends to it. So, just FYI on that. Tennessee United tournaments this weekend, big weekend down at Drakes Creek. I'm sure they'll have 120 teams playing. So we'll have a lot going on down there. Weekend looks great for weather. We'll have traffic control both days at Demos, extra traffic control. As part of the bond that the BOMA approved, and this a couple months ago, we're going to get new inline hockey surfacing. So it's $120,000 is what they gave us. It's sorely needed, and the hockey folks have been very patient about this, very professional, their crew. And so we're in the middle of working on this to get a new product. It's out of Georgia. Every flooring product's made out of Dalton, Georgia, seems like. But so we're in the process of trying to put together the bid specs and go to bid and get that done over the fall and winter. So that way, when the spring hockey season comes around, they're going to be ready to play. So, but that's the goal right now. We're also in the process, our maintenance guys, we're going to start taking out the sand from the playgrounds and putting in mulch. Sand only has a certain fall height. It's not approved. Plus, parents hate it, and I'm a parent, and I don't like it. And it just seems to be. First of all, it's not certified. That's the biggest thing. It's not for a fall height. It's only like 3 foot of fall height, and we have much higher than 3 foot of fall height on a lot of our playgrounds. So we're going to start little by little replacing sand out of our playgrounds with mulch. It's not going to happen overnight. We got a lot of playgrounds, so it's going to cost quite a bit of money. So it'll have to be a process. I've been working with the Dugout Club, HHS baseball. We're going to add some stadium seating, hopefully. Nothing's done. We're going to add some stadium seating to the backstop of the high school baseball field. Try to pour some concrete and add some nice stadium seating back there. It's going to be a joint effort between the parks, or the city, and the Dugout Club. So we've had those meetings trying to get that. I think that I was in Clarksville High School this past weekend with my son. They've got the same setup that we're wanting to do. It's a great setup for the parents and spectators. So we're trying to work on that. And then a few winter projects that the money was approved by BOMA. We're going to renovate and possibly expand the Mallard Point boat dock. It needs help bad. It's just old, and the Sea-Doo port's broken. We're going to get a new Sea-Doo port to go in there, probably a double Sea-Doo port. We've got to put some new composite board on there, the composite. So, but I've got $15,000 to do that, so I think I can do a lot with that. We're going to build another maintenance shed at our existing maintenance area to put we've got new equipment, and we're running out of space. And then we're also going to spend close to $10,000 that I got approved on renovating the softball concession building. It may be restroom renovations. It's going to probably be some new flooring upstairs. We may even take the office out of the middle of the upstairs. That's where Chick's old office was, and Chick never used it. And the guy now doesn't use it, so it would be better for hospitality and for tournaments if it's open again. So we don't know what we're going to do, so that's a few things coming down the pipe. And then also, I've been, myself and other staff have been very busy trying to surplus equipment and to get rid of some dinosaurs that are hanging around, and to purchase some new stuff. And so we're well on our way to get rid of some of these things. So, so that's the high points. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Dinosaur you're talking about is not me, I hope.
No.
Questions? Mr. White?
Just, the words you used, did you use demolition for the concession stand on field?
Well,
Softball?
I did say, no, I did not use demolition. However, I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. White. You know, that building is, to my knowledge, the oldest building in Drakes Creek, for sure. It's older than I am, but it needs to be replaced. I mean, it's not a big secret. My goal now, you know, we're in the process for this second phase of Arrowhead. Sorry, Volunteer Park at Arrowhead.
No, it's Arrowhead. Go ahead.
We're in that phase. We have a timeline from the state to be finished with this project. The next cycle for the LPRF grant is 2018. So my hope is we can get this project finished, and they'll give us leeway on it because the state actually drug their feet big time on getting all this stuff back to us to get this project going. So like months. So I'm hoping when the next cycle comes out for LPRF, which is in 2018, anywhere from April to June, we're going to apply again, and that's probably at the top of my list to apply to get another $500,000 grant and replace that building. That means the city would have to put up money because we don't have anything there to match. No property to match. We'd have to use, so we would, we may find some property, but you know, that's my goal. I know that's down the road, but it'll be here before you know it, and that's my goal. Because that building, the concession stand's too small, the restrooms are way too small, and you know, and nobody knew 40 years ago what we're going to be looking at now. I mean, you know, it just is what it is. But we're going to do some work on it and spend some money and freshen it up and get it looking good and get it presentable for the next few years, and hopefully it'll work out.
It wasn't that great 30 years ago. I mean, I remember when we did some stuff up there upstairs there, it wasn't too good then. So I guess it's probably time, like me. I guess it's probably time already.
I hear you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Round table, Mr. Head, Mr. White.
I'm going to bring it up since Mr. Gilly, Alderman Gilly, Coach Gilly, whatever he was going by tonight, brought up a very good point, or maybe raised a concern, is if we are at somewhat of a disadvantage. I know we have a great park system, but if we are being put at somewhat of a disadvantage from our fee structure and our requirements, I would like for us to look at that, and I don't know where that needs to go at this point. I would look to you, Mr. Rogers, to see what's our first steps, or how could we start looking at that? Is that involving the athletic committee, or just, I mean, I don't want us to lose events because people feel like we're pricing ourselves out of the market.
Yeah,
I don't want to not be tied to a civic group for the benefits that brings. So
well, obviously, and I think you know this, I'm not telling you anything, and you all know this, is the purpose of them partnering with a civic group was the civic groups have been so good about giving us the money back, or not giving the city, of paying for bleacher covers and buying scoreboards and just thousands and thousands of dollars. So that was the whole purpose of it. What Mr. Gilly is saying does have some validity to it. These groups can go to Murfreesboro and they can go to wherever else and to have fields, and it's the same price, but they don't have that extra fee they're paying to the groups, to the Civitans or to the Fast Pitch or to the Dugout Club or to the whoever. And so, you know, I think honestly, when when you all voted in the new field fee structure at 125 per field per day for baseball, softball, and then you had one for soccer as well, a few years ago, we were on probably the lower side of that. If you took all of them, an average, we were down here a little bit. But when you take that fee and you add that in there, you go back up. So, I'm not sure. And the other thing is the Civitans of the world and the fast pitchers of the world, these folks now especially, they have connections and they can get the folks in here. I mean, I know people as well, and so does Coach Gilly, but they have the connections and can work with them, and it keeps us out of it, and they bring them in here. Not that we couldn't now, because we do know so many people, and people are calling us all the time. They want to come here. Like, hey, what can we, perfect examples tonight, But I do see your point. I'm gonna make some notes about that, and it might be something worth discussing.
If I can add something to Mr. White there, I don't think we necessarily need to be the cheapest guys on the block, but I would like to see some comparisons,
Yeah.
of other places, because that's the only one I have ever heard of is Murfreesboro, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, when Christy did the study, Christy put it all together. It's probably been, I'd say it's been at least 5 or 6 years ago, 5 years. She's got all that information. I'll try to pull it together.
Good.
And see what I can send out to you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. White. All right, Mr. Richards?
Do you have a schedule on cutting those dead trees between 6 and 7?
We sure do. Glad you asked.
And I got
Stephen and
one.
I talked about that Friday.
Okay.
This past Friday, and we're gonna actually do. There's so many of them. There's more than just that, but those are definitely the ones. We're gonna do that in-house. We can do some of that in-house, and we're gonna start on that ASAP because they're dangerous. I'm glad you mentioned it. We did talk about it.
I've got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any dress code rules in the park?
Dress code?
Dress code?
Somebody wearing an Alabama shirt?
No,
No, I'm just joking.
going shirtless and stuff like that. I mean, do we have rules and regulations?
Well, I mean, if they're not wearing any clothes, that's against the law. I mean, I would assume there's some type that I can't enforce, but the police could if that's going on. I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh about it, but I don't know.
I agree with you.
We're
It's a situation where, I've heard this before, and it's a situation where if somebody lodges a complaint, then it's passed on to the police, and the police do the determination. So I don't think we have the code, but I think the police do. So I think they're the ones that mandate what happens there.
It would be, somebody can help me with the terminology, the proper terminology. I don't know. But
I understand.
yes.
The reason I brought that up, I had a couple of people ask me about it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I said, I'll ask.
Indecency or
It would be public indecency.
public indecency. That's
Yeah,
probably
But
the.
that would have to be somebody that, legal terms, public indecency is showing your private parts of some sort. So unless a female is topless or a male is topless, or the rear end of one of the two is showing, you can go shirtless in the park and that's not considered indecent exposure for a male.
That's why I said I think the police, I mean, if they, it's my understanding, when somebody files a report, they have to investigate it.
That is
So-
correct.
And I'm assuming once they got that out of the way, then it would go by the wayside. But I would prefer people wear clothes, especially us old guys, really. Mr. Frank?
Yes, I'm not. I love following this. This is great.
I've never done this
So,
before.
I've had my fair share of dress code issues,
Oh,
but
yeah. I would imagine.
I'll move along. I'm not sure who needs to get the appreciation. Probably a large group of collective people, but recently this fall. I've had the opportunity through my own family to participate in cross-country events, which are held Murfreesboro, Macon County, and Lafayette, all over the place. And the most enjoyable and the best facility is Saunders Ferry Park. And the way that is prepared, and the way it's laid out, and the way that other events, particularly fishermen, can get to the large shelter area and launch and take care of their business. And you can have middle schools and high schools from multiple counties and multiple areas, Clarksville all the way to Dixon and so forth. But that doesn't need to go unnoticed. Our official and formal ball fields and so forth are great, and obviously people want to use those facilities, but that's been real enjoyable. It's been fun to kind of showcase and be right here in our backyard. It's a little hidden gym, and so whoever prepares that and works with the schools and the groups to do that deserves a tremendous amount of credit. We ran one Saturday after quite a bit of rain came through, and they were still able to park everybody, and it wasn't a free-for-all, and it didn't back up all the way to what used to be mallards and stuff like that. So I just want to pass that along because that's sometimes overlooked in the sports of the parks, but I do appreciate the work that's gone into that. That's a nice place to be.
Bob, you're welcome. I'll pass the word along. Obviously, the maintenance guys cut it. We keep that cut, actually, we keep the course cut year-round or whenever we're cutting season because it's just easier to keep it cut low. But it's been an ongoing process to put in new culverts and where the crossings are. And Christy works with, now Coach Wateka at Beach High School. It was Coach Askren out there. But anyway, both of them are great to work with, so they're very appreciative of it. And and we don't really get any bad feedback from it. It's all good. They like going down there, so I'll pass along the good word.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Frank. Ms. Spike?
I'm good.
He's good. Mr. Bowler?
I'd like to piggyback on Mr. Head's comment. While you're looking into the fee schedules comparatively, I'd also like to have you look at the schedule and to see whether it's a problem, whether it's an actual issue, whether we're losing, is our calendar full? Do we have many open dates?
Right.
And I want us to be cognizant of it costs the city to put those events on, right? To maintain and I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that as well.
I think there's some groups, there's certain groups, just to be completely honest with you, we've got different groups that, there was a lady in here that came to you 2 or 3 years ago. She was with BPA. Well, she actually now is with Game 7 baseball. She pretty much took off her teams, and she does a great job. Jody Witt is her name. She does a great job. But she has parks that are closer, essentially, to her home, Murfreesboro, where she lives. Murfreesboro, Hermitage, Smyrna, Laverne. They use up here some in the spring. They don't use any in the fall. They don't need the park in the fall. They don't have that many teams. On the flip side of that, you've got a guy like Eric Hooper with GMB who hosts tournaments here, who he's wanting more every year, and he don't bat an eye at the fees. Now, granted, they're not having one tournament a weekend. They'll have a tournament here. They'll have a tournament in Illinois. They'll have a tournament in Kentucky. They have a tournament in St. Louis. They're 6, 7, 8 tournaments deep every weekend. So he's a big player in the game. They'll go big or go home. Well, they went pretty big. So those people, it doesn't hurt as much. The people like tonight, it hurts them a little more. But with that being said, I guess where I was going with that, Mr. Bowler, is without me looking at it, just my initial thought is I'm pretty sure we hosted more tournaments in 2017 in the spring and summer than we ever have. Now, granted, we're hosting several perfect game events on Field 3. It's just one field. But we're hosting a lot of baseball tournaments, youth baseball tournaments. We hosted more softball tournaments this year. So I'm going to still look into it. I'm going to give you some feedback. Yeah.
All right, I also have a comment about that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You
You have the whole floor. You
Okay,
were last.
thank you.
There you go.
I was thinking the partnership was to give precedence to our home teams so that tournaments don't come in and use the fields, and yet those home teams get some benefit out of that.
Well,
and
I'm glad you mentioned that because, just to be quite honest, I have 2 kids and we are a home team. But what happens is, regardless of who comes in here, the home teams normally stay in play. Does that make sense? Is that what you're asking? We get a lot of, like, even when Game 7 baseball comes in here and hosts a tournament, and we go over and have, or say GMB, Greater Midwest Baseball, and we have 30 teams at Drakes Creek. If we have 4 different divisions that are 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U, there's usually at least 3 or 4 teams, at least, and Nathan is shaking his head because he's umpiring down there. And we are always playing here. They love, they're all the time saying, well, get somebody here and host these tournaments. At the end of the day, I don't really think they care who it is because they're not playing for like points per se. They just want to play here. They want to play in their backyard. So it is, to your point, it's a huge thing for those because I have coaches that call me all the time because I'm so involved with my kids that are saying, hey, what are you hosting this weekend, this weekend? They're trying to plan out their year. They'll call me in January. What are you thinking? I was like, well, these weekends you might want to check on. So there's no doubt about it. It's a huge help and there's a bunch of local teams here from age 7 to 14, baseball and softball. There's a bunch, and soccer too, obviously, but there's a bunch of those teams that play. And honestly, most of them will play here. I mean, I'd say. So.
This started when we started doing that study several years ago. It was kind of perfect timing in from my standpoint because right about that time my son was, I believe, 11, and we were playing baseball tournaments all over the Southeast, and we were playing in a baseball tournament in Murfreesboro. The 2 teams playing in the championship game were from Hendersonville and Gallatin. And we had to drive all the way to Murfreesboro to play on that Sunday afternoon. And I can tell now that Brandon referred to that is I umpire a lot of these tournaments that come in here now. And there are, depending on the age group, there could be 4 to 6 teams in what I call the local area out of here in Gallatin in each age division that are local, that are here, that are definitely reaping the benefits of those tournaments being here.
Oh, no
and
doubt.
not having to drive somewhere, as you know, Brandon, having to drive to Murfreesboro when you can drive to here, it's a whole lot easier. We're getting those teams, they're staying here, and we're getting more of them, and the word's getting out that this is a good place to have those tournaments. It's a great facility.
And even when they show up, even if they're from Hendersonville or Gallatin or Goodlettsville or Portland or White House, they're still spending money here. They're still spending money here. My son, we played in White House the last 2 days because they had a tournament. I ate out both days up there. I filled up with fuel up there. I'm sure that's just the way it is. I mean, you're going to do that, and I'm still 30 minutes from home, but so they reap the benefits.
Right. And I know bringing it up is I bring it up just I think it's something we need to look at.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we got to look at cutting our fee structure in any form at this point until we see, is it a detriment to us where we are, and are we in line with everybody else in the benefit of the kids getting the community and the civic groups?
Well, there's probably a sweet spot with the fee
Yes, ma'am.
structure, and that's
Yeah.
where we want to be.
Exactly.
And the other thing, and you all, and I'm not going to get long-winded, I know we're finished, but the other thing that we offer, and nowhere else offers this, especially for baseball and softball, is we actually have a fee structure thanks to you all, and let's back up. Thanks to you all is the reason we're hosting these tournaments. Because I remember 7, 8 years ago, we weren't doing this. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. We weren't doing this, and I think it took a group effort to buy in and say, we need these people in here to use the parks. We need local leagues too. We need to take care of our local, but we need to get these tournaments, whatever if it's inline hockey or if it's soccer or football or whatever it is. So with that being said, I'll take a look at it, and I'll get some numbers together, and we'll go from there.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Borja? Brandon, since you've stopped since you've had the staff not be here, are you still sending out the emails? Because I don't, if I didn't get it, so I'd love to read over their reports in an email. Was I supposed to get one or not?
None in an email.
Huh?
Not in an email. This is the copy.
Yeah, but I'd like to see it before
Well,
we get
now,
here.
the only one that you didn't have, to my knowledge, in your agenda that you got via email was Cindy's. Everything else is everything else
okay.
was
So
email.
I'm just not smart enough to
Cindy's we
know.
received late.
Okay.
And that's the only, everything else, and hers will typically be in there.
Okay.
So everything will be if it's a handout here, it's because it was late getting finished.
Which is no problem.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it was in there.
Yes.
That's fine.
That's
No
all right. I
problem.
appreciate you asking. No,
I appreciate you telling me. We could go like this all day, couldn't we? I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. White first, Mr. Frank second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Go Vols, we're out of here.